In a recent video we had a thorough look at all the great art in Sorcery Contested Realm's Alpha Edition set, and there's a lot for the imagination here, but we couldn't help but wonder how a Graeco-Roman set would look in Sorcery Contested Realm. So let's get into it.
We have already seen some great Greco-Roman references in the Alpha set, as Jens just said. We have come face to face with the stone-gazed Gorgons and come away unscathed. We have sailed on the river Styx and we have claimed the Gilded Aegis. There's a lot of really cool things in the Alpha set, but even more can be done. We're going to take you on a journey through some sites, some relics, and some minions we think could be super flavorful for a Greco-Roman set in Sorcery Contested Realm.
Sites are the resources in a game of sorcery, and they are incredibly important, and they have a great visual impact when they are placed on the grid, so they can really set the tone for an entire set.
So some of the most impactful sites are actually the basic sites, because they are going to be the auto-include in many of the decks. For instance, we had towers to represent the element of air in the Alpha set. For this Greco-Roman set, we could have something like temples. Temples are usually placed upon high tops to be visually striking and to be very close to the gods. So it would be very cool to have some different temples and different temple styles from around the Mediterranean world as our basic sites for the element of air. To continue on with the basic sites for Sorcery Contested Realm, we could imagine seeing the element of earth represented by fields of grain, rolling hills of vines, and also maybe groves of olive trees that are so linked to the Mediterranean area.
In the ancient world, water was the element of healing and cleansing, so we could imagine basic sites with the element of water containing sacred pools, sacred springs, or maybe just great flowing rivers all through the country and landscape. And for the basic sites of fire, the last element, we could imagine dried up riverbeds, great deserts, and we could even imagine volcanoes spewing ashes and brimstone for a big fiery inferno.
We also have some suggestions for some non-basic sites. For instance, for the element of air, we have a very nice suggestion, maybe something like the Oracle of Phoebus. Phoebus is Apollon in the Greco-Roman world, and he had an oracle at Delphi where there was a woman foretelling the fates of both kings and empires. So maybe the mechanic could be something like being able to scry a couple of cards so you also can see into the future.
For the element of earth, we could imagine a site being called the Labyrinth of King Minos. King Minos resided on the palace island of Crete, and there was this legendary labyrinth. The Labyrinth of King Minos was built to contain the Minotaur within, so it couldn't find its way back. So maybe the site could have something to do with getting a creature off the grid, or maybe just containing it within the maze forever.
A non-basic site for the element of water would be the port of Alexandria. Alexandria was one of the largest ports and cities in the Mediterranean world. And here we could imagine something like being able to maybe get some additional goods or some additional resources in the game itself, because this would illustrate the way that the ports were really important for all kinds of trading across the Mediterranean Sea.
For the element of fire, we could see the Mount Etna being a great site. This mountain was actually the house of the Greco-Roman god Vulcan, who was the god of fire. When Vulcan's anger flared up, the volcano would erupt, and he would live at the base of the volcano using all the lava for his smithing. So we could imagine this site having some kind of relevance for artifacts or equipments, maybe being able to conjure some of these cards from your spellbook. If you enjoy our sorcery content, don't forget to smash that like button and maybe becoming a subscriber to the channel so you won't miss any future videos. If you want to support us even further, you can also become a YouTube channel member for below $3 a month, and that helps the channel out a ton. So thank you for watching, and thank you for maybe considering subscribing and becoming a YouTube channel member.
For the minions, there are a lot of great and cool mythological creatures in the Greco-Roman myths and fantasy. So many of them are already brought to life in the Alpha set, as we said in the beginning. There are some amazing creatures, really cool cards, drawn and painted by some of the most amazing artists that joined us for the Alpha set. More on some of the artists that we would like to see additionally in this set later on. But let's get into some of those really cool mythological creatures that we still have left to explore.
One mythological creature we really would like to see interpreted into sorcery is the Lotus Fagi. The Lotus Fagi were people that ate of the lotus blossom, which made them forget their home, their name and their family, and made them to forever stay within the sacred islands of the Lotus Fagi. This card could be really nice and flavor and mechanic for Sorcery set. Well, it could maybe have something to do with an opponent skipping a turn, or maybe ending a turn outright when the card is played, to have the ability of the Lotus Fagi's forgetfulness translated into the game.
Centaurs is a creature I would love to see in the Greco-Roman set that we are proposing here. It is a mythological creature, half human on the upper body, and lower body is that of a horse. It is represented 1,000,000 times over in much of the art of the ancient world. This would be a really cool card to depict in a game of Sorcery. Usually they are thought of as wild and barbaric to contrast the nature of the civilized world, which is the way that both the Greeks and the Romans thought of themselves as the high point of civilization. There are a few of the centaurs who weren't all wild and barbaric. We had, for instance, Chiron, who was brought up by the god Apollo himself. Apollo is known and associated with music and herbs, and in particular, Chiron was known for being a great master of herbs and botany. So maybe he could be translated into a card that could give you some advantages or maybe even some life gain.
And speaking of Apollo, it will also be great to see some of the artifacts in the set having something to do with the gods and the attributes of the gods. For instance, the thunderbolt of Zeus, the bow of Artemis.
We could also perhaps see the Caecadus staff of Hermes or his very famous winged shoes. This set would be awesome to see. We had some truly amazing artists do some awesome work for the Alpha set. So this is not to replace these artists, but maybe in addition to those artists, we could present these next 3 artists, which we think would be really cool for a Greco-Roman set.
The first artist we would love to see in a Greco-Roman sorcery set would be Stegg. She has done some amazing art and she has a great touch to work with light, so you can just peruse her entire portfolio here and see she has done some amazing work within the Greco-Roman fantasy world. So we would be lucky to have her in a Greco-Roman sorcery set.
So the next artist I think would be really great for a Greco-Roman set is a famous old school fantasy artist. His name is Howard David Johnson, and he has already had some familiarity with the Greco-Roman mythology, and I think that his beautiful work is almost reminiscent of some of the early Waterhouse paintings, and I think that would be a beautiful fit for this set.
The last artist we can only dream of having in a sorcery Greco-Roman set would be Sarah Finnigan. She has done some spectacular artwork and she would be so good at making some of these sites come alive and really putting us into the Greco-Roman world.
So this was what a Greco-Roman set in Sorcery perhaps could look like. If you're interested in knowing what future sets are going to come in Sorcery Contested Realm, please check out this video right up there.
Speaking of checking out, thank you for checking out this video, and also a big shout out and thank you to all our YouTube channel members that helps us grow and keep going. Thank you.